Hi guys, welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the casting of Frank Stone. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the characters of Frank Stone, and more specifically, we are asking, did the women outshine the men? Now, point blank, Jack, I'm just going to throw the question to you. Did the women of Frank Stone outshine the men?
You know what? It's not something I've really thought about post-game, but I think looking back, I probably would say that there is girl power. I think the girls edge it in this one. I mean, all you've really got to do is look at our character tier list to sort of see that. But I was thinking before, like, what the potential of it is that, you know, makes the women beat the men in this particular game. And for me, it's probably down to their backstories, or just that they were given a little bit more time, you know, for depth. You've obviously got a character like Linda, and even Augustine, you could argue, they cross multiple timelines. Jaime doesn't, albeit you can say, yeah, he's a baby in the first timeline, but we don't really get anything there, do we? Sam, his story is very much rooted into the events in the game. But I'll take a character like Madi, for example, where she's getting over the loss of her mum. She has like this sort of quirky thing where she talks to her, you know, when nobody else is around, which I think was just a nice little character detail. Augustine, we know that she's interested in the occult. We see what her fiction interests are with like the horror movies and books and stuff. So like, in a broad sense, I think that, yeah, just the backstories of the characters for the females were a little bit explored than the men, mate. But how about yourself?
I would definitely agree, and yeah, like the character tier list we had, if I would pick my favourite characters, the top 4 or top 5 probably are women in the game. So like, you know, the best character for me is Linda, and then following that, we're probably looking at your Maddys, your Chris's, you know, and like Bonnie, there's some good stuff there, you know. And, you know, we look at the men, and what have we got? We've got like Robert, Jaime, and Sam probably the strongest one, but, you know, I've not been quiet in voicing how his evasiveness did annoy me at times, you know, and I felt like it could have prevented some deaths. There is Stan, and like Stan, I've spoke about it in the character tier list, so I won't, you know, sound like a broken record player, but it was a welcome change of character in the game, and I really enjoyed his like line delivery and the scenes he had and the dynamic he brought to the game. But I look at the other blockbuster games, mate, and Until Dawn, I would say there's a nice even split of men and women and the quality they have on screen. It's kind of like Friends on TV, you know, where like, you know, they're all kind of iconic parts in their own right. The Quarry, I would say the women edge it just a little bit because Nick and Ryan kind of, you know, bit in the background for me. But yeah, I look at this game. Yeah, I just think it's night and day. It's like so apparent how the women completely outshine the men on this game. And yeah, like you say, there's the backstory, there's the way the characters are written. But I think it's probably down to like playability as well. Jaime is like probably like, I always hated how kind of like bland he was, how he was just really insecure and jealous and naive. He can get killed off in the game pretty early. I know he did in mine. Robert you can't even play as. Sam's kind of annoyingly evasive, and Stan's an NPC. So it's almost not that difficult that like Chris, Maddie and Linda just completely stormed it, to be honest. And you know, like I've not been shy in voicing how I loved Augustine's performance, like you mentioned. So yeah, like I just think it's very significant just how much the women just absolutely batter the men in terms of character development in this game, which I thought was really interesting, to be honest, lad.
See, for me, it is a lot more close. Like you referred to the other games, I feel like Until Dawn it is a lot more close. For me, the Quarry, the female characters absolutely walk it, and you are right, it's Nick and Ryan that bring it down. For me, this game was almost closer to Until Dawn in that balanced sense, but I do think the women pipped to the post, and I think you are onto something in that actually the involvement of the men in this, like if you think about our playthroughs, Jaime died about halfway through. Sam pretty easily killed, because if you're in that situation where you pass the QTE with Stan, who ultimately is going to die anyway, right? You then have Sam get swallowed. So you're then in a position where you've got final girls, really, you could say, if you've got Chris, Maddie and Linda to that point. So therefore they've got that little bit more airtime towards the end. you couple that with a bit of backstory as well. So yeah, I can absolutely see, I can see why that statement would hold true, mate, that the women are better than the men.
Nah, very good. I mean, that is just our opinion, though, and to be honest, it's one of those ones where I'd love to gauge what the comments feel if they agree with us. I just kind of came out the game thinking, like, oh yeah, the women really had all the screen time and came out on top, and you know what? I didn't mind it. It was nice to see. We often commented how, like, in the DPA games, you would sometimes get, what, like, 4 men, 1 woman, or, like, you would get, like, more men on screen, and I always thought the men was written slightly better, my favourite characters being, like, your Charlie Lonnets and stuff, and your Conrads. So, it is nice just to sort of see a bit of female dominance in these games of, like, being the better characters. But, maybe we're wrong, maybe we're completely blindsided, and this is just our opinion. But, Jack, anything to add, or shall I wrap up?
Yeah, Liam loves a dominatrix.